Hello! Welcome. How are you? Good to have you here for the latest episode of Twitch Tales. So where did we leave off last time? Last episode on Twitch Tales, Apis had been hunting in the fair woods. Deep in the fair woods. For 7 hours they went hunting, trying to find something that was worthy of a celebratory gesture towards Altabris, to show the god of beasts and hunting how much they meant to them. And they trekked. For several hours they tracked huge footprints, until eventually, sleeping at the base of a tree, they found a sasquatch. Very, very rare, almost legendary creature. And the start of last session, we spent a great deal of time deciding what we should do about it. Because it's an enormous creature, and how are we going to drag it home if we knock it out? How are we going to talk to it? What is going to happen? How are we going to get this thing home? Should we just turn around and leave? Should we try and traipse it back to town? Should we kite it? Should we try and lure it back to town with food? What should we do? So Apis decided, as dangerous as it is, being that they don't know fully how they work, they were going to ask the dice. They were going to ask the bone dice that they'd been gifted from Bobby. They knew that it could tell the future in certain ways. So they asked these dice, can we befriend this thing? Is it possible for us to befriend this Sasquatch if we were to wake it and try and persuade it or lure it or become friends with it with food? Is it possible? And Apis rolled the dice. And as they bounced, Apis got filled with visions, senses, sights, sounds, smells, tastes of just negativity. And were left with a feeling of woe. And they decided, no, it's probably the dice telling us that trying to befriend this thing will not go well. And so they went back to square one. What should we do? Until one tiny little mote of inspiration in Apis's brain said, we have a potion of comprehension in our bag. And so they used the rotten manticore meat that they were going to be using as bait, and they poured the potion of comprehension onto the manticore meat and placed it in front of the sleeping Sasquatch, and then stepped back and waited behind a tree. And the manticore, with the pungent smell of rotting meat in front of them, woke up, and without a second hesitation about where this meat came from, or the fact it may be bait or a trap, clearly betraying a lack of intelligence in any sort of a way, picked up this meat and devoured it, allowing this manticore some semblance of comprehension of language, at least for the next hour, which allowed Apis for the moment to convince this Sasquatch that they meant it no harm. We deceived the Sasquatch into thinking that there were other hunters around that did mean it harm, and that if it wanted to live, if it needed to come with you if it wants to live. And and then we gave it the rest of our we gave it some more we gave it promise of food if it followed us back. And so we managed to this Sasquatch to following us through the woods. And as we walked back through the woods in the direction of Shadridge, we used the last little bit of the potion of comprehension. We used the last remaining time of that to try and teach this Sasquatch some rudimentary sign language, just for simple things like danger and pointing over there, and speed and stop and climb and hide, and various rudimentary things that we may need over the time between where we are and where we were going, so that when the potion ran out, we were still able to communicate in some very minor way. Apis then played some panpipes as a sort of luring Pied Piper of Hamelin kind of way. Played the panpipes, and upon a couple of false starts, managed to get into the rhythm and find a tune that was not too off-putting to the Sasquatch, and intrigued it enough for its animalistic bestial brain to be curious about what this source of music was, and to want to follow you through this woods even further. And eventually, after several hours, we managed to lure this sasquatch to the edge of the fair woods, a short distance out in the open from here to the newly built menagerie. And stealthing our way across, sending our giant bee male companion to scout the area and make sure that the coast was clear, we managed to stealth the way across the open air and to the menagerie, where we lured the sasquatch down into a pre-built pit, and then clambered back out and lifted out the ladder, so that the Sasquatch was now captive in this menagerie. Doing so meant that that we were working right through until about 2 a.m, and so Apis is rather tired with a level of exhaustion. And we decide it is time to sleep. It is currently, the 2 hours into the first day of Altabris, the month to celebrate Altabris, the god of beasts and hunting, and for whom we did all of this in the first place. So that is where we pick up. Where would you guys think Apis would like to sleep? You are about a half an hour's walk from Jack Reed's farm. You could try and sleep somewhere here on the menagerie, in and about the menagerie somewhere. You're about half an hour walk from Shadridge town proper, and you're about 10-minute walk away from the local forest if you wanted to sleep in the forest. Where do you think Apis would like to sleep? Alright, we're pretty much in unanimous decision that Apis will stay at the menagerie near the pit where the Sasquatch is currently residing. So that's what Apis does. Apis gets out the bedroll, and being that it is a relatively clear night, it's a very dark night, being that the first of every month is a new moon, when there is no moon at all. And so it's a very dark night, there's lots of stars out. And Apis unrolls their bedroll, gets out their blanket, and snuggles in to go to sleep as the softly buzzing sounds of Mel comes to a rest in a field nearby, and Mel curls up to sleep among the flowers. It doesn't take long for Apis to drift off to sleep, being how tired they are. But they get woken again, shortly after sleeping, because the forest is cold tonight. Apis shivers and pulls the blanket up tighter around their neck, cursing the wind for changing direction and forcing this cold upon them. After a few uncomfortable minutes of self-delusion, Apis finally admits defeat, and realizing that they're going to get no rest here, emerges from their blanket cocoon to begin packing away the bedroll and moving on to find more sheltered locations to rest. As they stand, pack in hand, Apis suddenly has the strong sense of another presence nearby, watching them. Spinning, they scan the nearby woods, their dark vision coming in great use on this cloudy night. No one. Apis puts it down to paranoia caused by sleep exhaustion, and begins to move on. But as they pass the edge of the clearing, there is an unmistakable creaking of branches from above and the rustle of leaves, as though something large was perched high above the clearing and took to the skies when Apis left. Apis stands still for a few seconds, listening and waiting, barely wanting to breathe. "Hunt!" a deep, gruff voice says from somewhere within. Apis suddenly springs into action, clambering up the nearest tree with alarming nimbleness. Within seconds, Apis breaches the canopy and scans the night skies. The moment Apis' eyes land on the retreating scales and leathery wings, over 150 feet away already, the same voice repeats, "Mac!" And though Apis knows they have been unable to get a sufficient night's rest to return their usual energy for magic, they reach out a hand towards the worm and grasp in an upwards motion. The creature's great claws skim the canopy below, and the leaves seem to stick to it, adding a further shade to its already green body. As the dragon continues to fly, Apis watches it go, knowing that they have the most difficult hunt of their life ahead of them. But Altabris is on their side. Apis awakes with a buzzing sound, as there are voices chittering and excited murmuring nearby. And there is an Apis, are you awake? And then Apis wakes and looks around them, still tucked into their bedroll nearby the Sasquatch's pit, the Sasquatch's enclosure. And Apis can see that there are 3 children looking down over the edge of this pit.
What is it? It's like a bear. Is it a bear? I think it's a bear. No, it's not a bear. I've seen pictures of bears.
Apis, are you awake? I think it is time for us to explain what happened last night.
As you look over and you see Mel buzzing, sort of landed nearby, and you can realise that it is quite late into the morning, and being that we went to sleep at like 2 a.m. and slept through, it seems like, maybe we slept later than we expected. So, what do you want to do? Who else is around? So, from where we can see on our by our bedroll, right by the fence around the top of the pit, we can see that on the other wall adjacent to ours is 3 children that we've seen around town before, and then we can see that there are 2 or 3 adults talking over by a tree, like a good 40 feet back from that. We don't recognise anybody. We do not have exhaustion now. That's right. We have had a long rest. All of our spells and our hit points and things have returned. Get the ankle biters off the fence first. Apis quickly stands up and leaving their bedroll behind, rushes over to the kids. Could you, don't climb up on the fence there. You don't want to fall in. Gods only know what that thing's capable of.
What is it?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a very secretive and very legendary creature of the woods. We look down into the pit there. I'm gonna roll a perception check for Apis. 4 plus our perception modifier of 4. That's an 8. Apis looks down. They can see that there's a whole bunch of leaves and forest refuse down there, branches and things that have been put in at mismatched angles and stuff, just to give it some kind of cover. But looking down, Apis can't actually see where the Sasquatch is. But they turn back to the kids anyway, and they say, just get down off the fence. You don't want to fall in. It's a big dangerous monster. It's called a sasquatch, and none of the kids have heard of it. They're like, a sasquatch, sasquatch, or some people call it a Bigfoot because it's got big feet.
It's called a Bigfoot. Why is it not called Big Feet?
I don't know. It's just what it is. It's just what it's called. We look around and we see that there's 2 adults coming over now. And they say, what are you looking at, Jimmy? And one of the little boys turns around and says,
"It's a bear!"
One of the other them goes,
"No, it's not a bear! It's not a bear, it's a person! It's a big hairy person!"
It's actually not a hairy person or a bear, it's actually a Sasquatch. And the adult that was coming over, a what? A Sasquatch, really? Aye. Long story. I actually managed to find a Sasquatch last night and hunt. I'm really tired. If you just give me 1 second to put my bedroll away, I can explain. But just make sure your kids don't fall in. And upon mention of the Sasquatch, one of the other adults started running forwards and pulling the other kids off of the fence. All right. So what's the plan for the day? How are we gonna pursue this? We didn't manage to wake up in time to get ahead of it. So now that we'll kind of be starting on the back foot. What's Apis' plan? As we run back to start rolling up our bedroll, we can see that within minutes of arriving are another bunch of people coming in from town. There's quite a few people on the way in to see what the menagerie has to offer. Send these people to find someone in charge. Make a sign telling people to keep voices down. We need to feed the Sasquatch. Live feeding sessions. Where's Mosh? We can have a little look for Mosh. So as we've put our bedroll away, we're going to try and find out who's in charge. We rush around trying to find somebody in charge of this this menagerie, and as we rush back to sort of the front of the whole thing where it meets the actual road, we can see that arriving with the first kind of group of people is Darren, with his Knights of Kvosna uniform on and looking very snazzy with his blue cape adorned at the shoulders, attached at the shoulders, and adorning his armour, looking very official. And we rush over to him. Hey, Darren. Oh, morning, Apis. Yeah, morning. Listen, I managed to get something good for the menagerie. Oh, yeah? What's that? You managed to find a badger? I did find a badger, yeah. I found a couple of rabbits for and you fill them in on all the little animals you found. Right, that sounds good. Well, I also found, more importantly, something for your pit. Oh, yeah? Where is it? It's in the pit. You got it? Okay, what have you got in there? Like, well, have you heard of a sasquatch? And he goes, what? I'm going to see if he has actually heard of it. No. Have you heard of a Bigfoot? Yes. Right, Sasquatch is another name for a Bigfoot, and I found one, and it's in the pit. Oh, okay, right, I see. And he sort of looks around at the people nearby, and he goes, okay, gotcha. And you're like, no, I don't think you do got me. I've actually found a Bigfoot, and it's in the. And he goes, I don't. Okay, sure. Yeah. So if you'd like to start with the children's area, the first one you'll come across on the path up to the main house, you'll see some badgers and some rabbits to play with and things. Kids can go nuts. There's some hedgehogs in there. Just make sure that you know, watching your fingers. They'll spike you. Right, and then he sort of sends the family off ahead so that he's not with you. And then he goes, sorry, now that you're on your own, he goes, what? I don't understand. What have you found? I found a Bigfoot. But no, but what is it actually? You've like dressed it up to look like a Bigfoot. No, what do you not believe that? He goes, Sasquatches or whatever you call them. They're fictional. They're children's stories. They're like the bogeyman and things. So, right, I see. No, they're not. They're just very, very rare. Come and see. I'll see if I can find it for you. And very confused, you lead him over, and you look down into the pit. He goes, I don't see it. And he goes, well, they're very shy, but I assure you it's in there. I put it in there myself last night. And you go around all four sides of this pit looking for it. I'm going to see how long it takes you to find it. Darren is not doing too well with his perception check. Nor are you. But Darren was actually slightly better than yours. Oh, no, he wasn't. Nope, because you've got a better perception modifier. So it takes you both quite a long time to actually find the damn thing. But eventually, you find one area where you go, that's it. And you look down between two branches, and you see like the smallest bit of fur, and you can kind of see its furry leg, just like it's sitting on its haunches, just all curled up, kind of like a sitting fetal position. And you're like, that's it there. And he goes, oh, right. Okay, so what is it? It's a creature. It's like it stands tall like a person, but it's got the mind of a beast. And it's called a Bigfoot. It's like I don't know, taller than you. Like if I was to stand on your shoulders, maybe it'd be about that tall. And he goes, really? And he's like, yeah. I mean, that's how did you get it back here? Well, and you try and tell him the story a bit, and it takes like 10 minutes of explaining the story to. Right. Okay. Well, that's amazing. We should remove some of these branches so that people can actually see it. And you're like, I already feel a little bit uneasy about having the thing here in the first place. But I think giving it its privacy, like it'll come out when it needs to come out. It'll say, it'll be there. It'll be part of the experience that people have actually got to like work to see it properly. I don't think people want to have to do work. It's just trust me. It'll feel more comfortable if it. I mean, beast, right? And why do we need to make it feel comfortable? It needs to be calm, or we're inciting trouble. Is this thing dangerous? It could be. It looked like it was strong enough to be a problem, and I don't know how easily it could climb out of this thing. Okay. Should we... I mean... Do we have to have someone watching it the whole time? Because I've got to watch over the whole menagerie today. I don't think we need to have somebody watching it the whole time. I think we just need a signpost saying what it is and saying to be quiet around it, like nice quiet voices so it doesn't get stressed out. Okay. I just don't want to stress it out because it doesn't seem right to be unnecessarily cruel towards it. All right. Yeah. Okay. I can. I'll get. No, John's busy today. I'll get. I suppose I can do it. I can paint a sign to say people to be quiet. Right, and maybe limit the amount of people around. Maybe like 5 or 10 people at a time up against the fence, and take it in turns. And people won't want. Well, trust me. Like if we limit this thing, then people will actually be more interested in being like, oh, what is it? And then they'll come up and they'll spend their time looking for it. And if they don't find it in a few minutes, they have to go back to the back and have to come back. And it'll actually make it more exciting that people have. It's like a thing that people have to do to keep to actually put work into seeing this thing. It's a rare creature. People will want to see it. Yeah. All right. We'll do it your way and see if it works. I'll go and get the... What does it eat? Well, I know it eats meat. I know it eats... I fed it some of the manticore meat yesterday, and it seemed to appease it a little bit. I don't know. I honestly don't really know much about the animal, to be honest. I think it eats anything that it can. It seemed sort of scavengy when I found it. Right. Okay. Well, we've got meat on hand to. Well, it's mostly to feed. I suppose I could ask the Coltons are in. You can ask the Coltons. The Coltons are running one of the stalls on the way to town. If you ask them if you can get some more of that manticore meat, maybe they'll send Victor to grab it for you. And then we've got something to feed it. Hey, alright, we'll do. Okay, anyway, you make the sign, I'll go and talk to the Coltons. So he goes off to find a board and some paint to write up a little sign saying everybody be quiet around this thing, no more than 5 people around it at once, kind of thing. While we're going to go try and find some food for it. Would Sally have had a book at her place about Bigfoot? Unlikely. We can go back to Sally's place and see if we have any luck, but it's unlikely. They're very, very rare creatures. So do we have a god level hunter's mark on that bloody dragon? Apis, as they're walking between the menagerie and town, has a moment to reflect on the dream that they had, and they feeling what hunter's mark feels like. Apis closes their eyes and focuses on the feeling of direction that they get from hunter's mark when they've marked a quarry. The subtle advantage that they get in hunting down the creature. It doesn't feel like you've got one active. In today's D&D session, we're playing Zoo Tycoon. Yeah, apparently. Alright, so Apis continues to make their way back towards town. And it's not long before they start to come across some of those stalls and individual nooks and tables that were being set up yesterday. Thankfully, it's a relatively clear day. The first stall that Apis comes across is seemingly being run by Trevor, the tanner. And Trevor has a table set up, a small sort of square table with a stack of rings on it. And then at various distances from the table, there are deer antlers that have been stuck into the ground. And there's a little sign on the table that says antler toss, and different points for the different antlers that you can get the rings around. And there's a couple of people standing there. There's a young fella in his like early teens, and either his sister or maybe his girlfriend or something. They're about the same age, and they're both taking turns tossing rings at the antlers. Across the sort of path from that, Cady Corner wise to it, is a bunch of the archery targets that we saw being set up yesterday as well. And you can see that there's Carl, the blacksmith / Fletcher, who is running an archery competition there. Doing some. Nobody's actually playing that one yet, but he's got like a small weapons rack with 3 different bows in it, and like a quiver of arrows sitting next to them. And he's just kind of sitting down reading a book at the moment. No, he's probably still setting up. He'd probably be behind, tinkering away behind one of the stands, getting it up to stand right, because it's kind of on a wobble, and he's making sure to put it at the right angles and things. So there's some archery competition there. Then there is a little bit further along. There is a table set up with 3 young children around it, and the parents sitting with them as well. It's a bunch of parchment and little wax crayons, and it's a drawing competition run by Oliver, the young prospective squire that you brought to town, and he's helping some of the kids draw some animals, and he's just showing them which crayons to use and things. A little bit further on from that, there is a food stall set up, and you can see that Franklin is there, and there's a fun. He's sort of got a bunch of platters out in front of him that are covered by thin white sheets at first, and he's sort of still setting up, but he's obviously got food under there. You say good morning to him, and morning Opus, how you doing? Good, thanks. How you doing, Franklin? Yeah, good. Just setting up. I'll be ready before lunch, I think, or morning tea when people are interested in having a little snack. I've got something. Gretchen's setting up a stall just up the ways as well, so people can come and go as they need. I think Quentin's helping Gretchen with the stall. We're going to have a pig on a spit later tonight for dinner. Oh, wonderful. That's great. I'm just on my way to speak to the Coltons, so I'll pop back in a second. Right you are. And we leave him to his thing and doing what he's doing as we go and check on the Coltons. As we get to them, we realise that they have set up a large painting on a board of wood that has been nailed to a tree. A large painting of a deer. But the deer is sort of standing, looking as if it's kind of startled, sideways on to the viewer. And then there is, in front of that, there's like a table, maybe like 30 feet back. And there's a bunch of like ribbons and things on there. And it says, strike the deer with the arrow on a sign in front of their table. And they've got a bunch of arrows on the table in front of them, but the arrow tips have got like a small cross on it instead of being an arrowhead. It's a small cross, like perpendicular to the arrow shaft. And then next to that is a small shallow bowl with some sort of pigment in it, some sort of paint. And as we arrive, Mary and Charlotte see us coming. Oh, hello. Hello, Apis. How you doing? Good morning, chap. Good morning, Coltons. How you doing? You doing well? I was told to come and find you because I understand you grabbed the rest of that manticore meat, right? We did, yes. Have you used it all up? And used it all? We barely got reason to use it. We figured that the pigs might eat it, but even they're turning up their nose at it, really. We've only got the 2 pigs at the moment, and they're not really. They're not really taking to being on the farm yet. But I think they'll settle in and eat what they're given eventually. Well, I could do with some of that that meat, if you don't mind. And she says, no, of course not. What do you need it for? Well, you know the menagerie that's just been built? Yes. I managed to find something in the woods to put into the pit, and I think it'll enjoy some of that meat. Is that right? What is it? Have you heard of a sasquatch? Let's see if they have. Mary says no, and Charlotte says yes, you have. It's another name for the Bigfoot. She says, oh yes, I found one. You found one? Are they real? I mean, I found one, so hopefully so. You found and there's one in the menagerie? Where can we see it? And she said, yeah, you can't just, it's going to be there all day, so, just, there's no rush. It feels, it's quite a shy creature, very good at hiding. I think at the moment it's keeping itself to itself underneath the foliage, but once it gets a little bit more used to being in there, maybe it'll perhaps be slightly easier to see throughout the day. Right? Wow! I didn't even know that they were real. I thought that they were just sort of children's myths. No, I kind of thought the same as well until I found one yesterday on the journey. It's quite a big thing. It probably needs quite a lot of food, so I don't want it to go hungry. And do you know where I can find the meat? And she says, yeah, we can send Victor back to the farm for it. Do you need it right now? I do actually. Yeah, I think I don't want it to miss out on eating throughout the day, so I'd rather have something for it to let it know that it's still safe. Right. Well, I guess we can. Well, Victor's probably on his way back from the farm. He's probably not going to enjoy his sending him back again immediately, but hey, that's part of his job. All right, when Victor gets back, we'll send him out to the farm. You can obviously go yourself. We can tell you where the meat is, and you can go and fetch it. But if you can wait, then Victor should be arriving back here anytime in the next sort of half an hour, and we can send him back to get more of the meat and things. What do you guys think? What would Apis do? Are you gonna wait to allow Victor to go and do the errand for you, or are you gonna rush out to the Colton's farm yourself and try and get some food, get some meat for the Bigfoot? Where's Mel? Mel's around. Mel's probably still by the menagerie. Victor would have a cart to use, yes. Play the archery game. Send Victor, go back to Bigfoot to make sure it's safe. Can play some festival games while we wait. Alright, most people saying we're gonna wait, so I think we wait. We're gonna have a look around. We say, right, I'll pop back over when Victor arrives just to explain what it is that I need and what have you. I'm just gonna enjoy the festival. And she says, yeah, right you are. Did you know Mosh is going to be running a hunting competition later? He is. After some time in the afternoon, he said. He's going to be hunting. Well, he's going to start it soon, but you've got all day, and then he's going to be counting it in the afternoon before nightfall. I think you can go and talk to him. He's just up, and she gestures further towards the town. He's just getting people to sign up now, and then whoever can bring back the most animals and things by the end of the day, they get a prize of some kind. I'm not sure what it is. He says, oh, right, yeah, then I'll go and have a word. And you wander off to see what else there is. The next one you come across is a stall that's being set up by John, the carpenter, and his wife Clarissa. And it's on the front of their little stall, their little table. There's a signpost painted that says "Guess the Tracks," and around them is a large. It's probably 10 to 15 feet by 10 to 15 feet. Almost looks like a vegetable patch. It's just wooden borders around a bit of dirt, a big square of dirt, and the dirt is kind of wet and muddy. And you can see that in the dirt there's a bunch of different footprints that have been laid there, and you can see next to the table behind where John is sitting on one of the chairs, there's a bunch of like wooden stampers with wooden cutouts of various different animal feet that he's obviously stamped into the dirt. And you can see that there's like there's 2 adults you probably recognize. Let's say, who would it be? You can probably see one of the guys who runs the stable hand, the one who's kind of out and about looking after. Stable hand would imply you've got a stable. We don't really have a stables, do we? He's probably just like a handyman kind of a role, just like he's a young fella and he would be in charge of kind of just lots of little handyman tasks around town. Young fella, you know his name to be William, and he's standing there going, "Is that one a bear? I don't know. I don't know. Is it maybe?" He's playing the game. And then continuing on from there, we can see that there is almost back all the way to town now. You can see that there is a little stall set up, just a simple table with some papers on it, and it says hunting competition on the front. And Mosh is sitting behind or standing behind the desk, talking to somebody in front now, and signing them up for the hunting competition. So we go and say hello to Mosh. Morning, Mosh.
Oh, Apis, morning. How are you?
Great, thanks, Mosh. Just wanted to come say hello and wish you happy Altabris.
And right back at you. You want to sign up for the hunting competition? You'd probably be in a sure win to win it.
Maybe. I did a lot of hunting yesterday, though. I went out for quite a lot of hours last night. I actually didn't get to sleep till about, I don't know, wee hours of the morning.
Is that right? What were you hunting?
Well, you know that pit at the menagerie?
Yeah. I managed to fill it. You filled it in?
No. I managed to get something to inhabit that pit.
What do you mean?
I found something, a star of your show, a star of your menagerie, if you will, something that will draw people in.
Yeah, go on. What'd you find, like a owlbear or something?
No, better than that.
Oh, don't tell me. We find like a giant boar or something?
Not a giant boar, no.
I don't know. I give up.
Have you heard of a sasquatch?
Yeah. I've never seen you. Wait, you telling me you got a sasquatch?
I'm telling you, I got a sasquatch.
You found a sasquatch in these woods?
Yeah, I mean in your menagerie now, but yeah, it was in the woods.
You're pulling my leg.
I'm not pulling your leg. I'm 100% serious.
What's it look like?
Well, and you describe it. It's about yay big and like that, and big arms and furry and all this. You give a description of what this particular one looks like.
Well, I never.
I'd say if you were registered for the hunting competition, you'd have won it just with that. But you weren't. So, and he kind of like looks down at the note in front of him. Yeah, I don't know. I'll think on it, but we'll see. So how did you get it back?
Well,
I had a potion of comprehension, and you launch into the story of exactly how it happened, and you take a good 20 minutes of talking to him to explain what the story was and how did you get it here and everything.
Right. Well, God's damn. I mean, I always knew you were good at it, but I didn't realize you were quite that adept at your hunting.
Yeah, well, just took a bit of convincing, but we got it there. I just want some food for it now. And as you're talking to him, you see Victor trundle back down behind you towards the Coltons, and you say, "Oh, Victor, sorry, 1 second, Mosh." You walk over to Victor. Listen, I know you've just come back from the Coltons, and as he's arriving, you can see that he's bringing back a couple of crates of things that are covered over, and he's obviously gone and fetched them and then trundled back with them. Sorry to do this, but I might have to send you back to the farm. And he says, no problem. I mean, it's what I do, I suppose. What do you need from the Coltons farm? Say, well, I need some more of that manticore meat. He goes, oh, I got a taste for it, eh? No, not quite. But I know someone who does. Really? They probably shouldn't eat it. It's probably it's not a person. It's a beast that we've got in the menagerie that might want to eat it. Right. Okay. I'll just deliver this to Mary and Charlotte, and then I'll be back, I suppose. Right. They'll tell you the same. I'll catch you on your way back through. All right then. You turn back around to Mosh. So, do you want to see it? He goes, I do, but I kind of got to. I'm catching people on the way through. Once it dies off in the late morning, I'll meander my way over there. Right? Slimy manticore meat goes down smoothly. Yeah, it lubricates the throat as he eats it. All right. So what is Apis wanting to do now? I've introduced you to all of the things. You can see that just opposite from Mosh's place is Quentin and Gretchen setting up a food stall as well. So there's 2 different food stalls. There's a hunting competition, a guess the tracks competition, a drawing competition, and a strike the deer with the arrow competition, pin the tail on the donkey essentially, archery competition, and a deer antler ring toss. And then there's the menagerie to have a look around. What are the prizes? As we're about to leave, and he turns around and we turn around and say, by the way, what's, just out of interest, what's your prize that you're offering? And he goes, I arranged a deal with Carl Fletcher. I've got some particularly well-made arrows. He's going to provide a quiver of arrows, or for the winner, they get their first bow. They get to keep one of the nice bows. Obviously, if you were to win, then we're not going to provide you with anything better than what you got already. But it's like to encourage the kiddies, the teenagers and things. I'm going to encourage them to take up hunting and provide them for the town. And they get a quiver of nice arrows too, particularly well-made leather as well on the quiver. Oh, it's nice. And he says, it's really down to you, I suppose, whether you want to take part. But I don't think the prize is what you'd be doing it for. Right? I think I might have done my share of hunting in the last couple of days. I might let some of the kids win. Right, you are. So you make your way back towards the menagerie, and then as you walk back, you see that the Guess the Tracks has a monetary prize. Like you pay to attempt it, and then if you get them right, if you get a certain number right, you win a certain number back. That sort of thing. The drawing table is just for drawing, just for like entertaining yourself with drawing pictures of animals and things. There's no prize there's no monetary cost to enter, but there's also no prize to win. It's just an interesting thing to do. The strike the deer with the arrow competition is a competition, and there is a monetary entry fee. But there's a prize that they've currently said is a secret prize for the winner at the end of the day, whoever gets the closest. And the idea is that you've got to try and strike it as close as you can to the head of the deer. Then that's the drawing, Guess the Tracks, hunting competition, strike the deer with the arrow. The deer antler ring toss is a monetary thing back as well. Like you pay a little money to play, and then you get some money back if you can get the most points, regardless of it. Regarding how many points you get, that depends on how much money you get back. And then the archery competition with Carl That is... I didn't actually... I forgot to write down which one, what the prize for that one was, because I was thinking that Carl was given the arrows, but he was given the arrows for the hunting competition. So the archery competition would probably be I feel like he would probably be able to give some arrows as well. He'd probably be able to put together some nice arrowheads. I feel like that one is a monetary prize if you for the different points, the different rings. But if you manage to bullseye every one of your shots, then you probably win a set of nice arrows, by which I mean like mastercraft arrows, meaning like +1 arrows. Strike the deer competition is a must, I feel like. Do some sweet little scribbles of animals. We should check back on the pit first. Alright, yeah, a lot of people wanting to check back on the Sasquatch. So Apis heads back towards the menagerie to check on the Sasquatch. Let me give you some fun dice to look at behind me in the meantime. Here you go. Apis heads back past the festival games and things to the menagerie, and the menagerie is bustling now. You can see that there are about 12 people around the Sasquatch pit, completely ignoring the sign that has been put up that says "Quiet, please," and then underneath in smaller letters, no more than 6 people around the pit at once. You can see that Darren is over in the petting zoo area, making sure that the kids aren't scaring the chickens and running after the badgers and things. And don't get too close. The badgers have got claws. They might hurt you. Right. Yeah. That if the hedgehog's spike. Yeah, I told you the hedgehog was spiky. Don't get too close to it. Oh, what's that? Yeah. Yeah, it's a Sasquatch apparently. Yeah, could come off down the fence, please? Off of the fence. We haven't constructed it to be climbed on. They're just for keeping the animals in. Apis, how's it going? How you doing? You good? And Mel is buzzing around in this field as well, getting chased by kids. Yay, bee! So, what do you want to do? Be assertive. Tell the people to get back. Darren's going to get burnt out by the end of the festival. He certainly is. Make a beeline for Darren. So now we're past the pit. We say, "Excuse me, can you everybody step back, please? Away! It's a Sasquatch. It can be a very dangerous animal. The sign says only 6 people at once." And everybody's like, "Oh, yeah," and they think they're one of the 6, so they don't move. You're like, I may be drawing on my own experience as a zoo tour guide here. You step back, please. Form a queue here. There's a queue here, and you come down and you get your longsword out, and you down into the dirt, and you scratch a big groove into the dirt. And like, right, this is the queue. You stand here until somebody leaves, and then you can step up and have a look as well. Right. And as soon as you start off the queue, then people know that there's a queue. And now that there's a queue, and we're basing this area of the world in fantasy Britain, British people like to queue, so it might start to help itself a little more now that you've actually put something in place to say like there's a queue here. So we quickly like pop our head over the pit to see if we can see the Sasquatch, and it's still seemingly in the same place as when we left it. And so we're like, okay, well, it's hard to see, and it's probably not liking all the attention, being that it's such a shy animal. But we walk back over to Darren and say, right, thanks for the sign. We need to really enforce that though, because people are, and he goes, I would love to. Until Kathleen gets here, I'm on my own here. Right, yeah. How about inside? And he goes, once people get inside the free reign, I can't handle them inside as well. I think the birds are able to get away from them before the birds are going to have to look after themselves. Okay, I'm out here looking after the badgers and making sure people don't get the fingers bitten off. And right, okay, I'll check inside. And you walk inside, and as you walk into the building, the enclosed building that is acting like a birdhouse, you can see that there is alongside all of the all of the branches and shelves and things that have been put around the area right up to the rafters to give this thing some dynamic kind of canopy-esque look to it, where the birds can fly around and hide and things. You can also see that along one wall there is a manticore that's been placed sideways onto the thing, onto the wall, and has been like all the bones have kind of been screwed together, and it does not look like a very good manticore because it's been very hastily screwed together. And it's all kind of like misshapen, and but it's got its mouth, and it's kind of not even like ferociously roaring because it's got a bunch of its teeth missing. So its kind of head is just like on the wall there, and then you like look up at it and you see all the birds flying around, and there's a couple people inside like, oh, look at that one, and oh, is that an owl? And no, it's not an owl. That one's it's a bird of prey. So is this not? No, it's a blue one. No, they're behind the blue one, idiot. I'm not talking about the blue. I don't think it's a blue owl. Behind the blue one. Yeah, there. That one. Isn't that an owl? Oh, I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't get enough view at it. And then you sort of turn around to leave again, and you see that above the door there is a manticore skin that has been stuffed, and it's got its eyes open like ferociously, and they've got like two stones in there that have been painted. And because it's been so hastily done, its eyes are not quite pointing in the same direction. And it's kind of not looking the most ferocious thing because its mouth is sewn shut. But it's sort of just hanging on the wall. And it probably after today it will probably be getting taken down to finish it tanning, because it's still not finished the tanning process, but they needed it up on the wall for Altabris. So well, there you go. And you take a moment to reflect on how not intimidating this manticore it is now compared to what it was when you saw it literally bite a man's head off. You're like, quite the difference. How the mighty have fallen, been skinned and placed on a wall in a tavern for people to gawk at. You're like, well, sure, that's what you get, Phagos. And you leave the little birdhouse and spend the next 10 minutes going between Darren in the petting zoo and crowd control around the Sasquatch, making sure people stay back until later in the morning. It's probably about 11 or so by now. Kathleen arrives and you debrief her on the fact that you've got a Sasquatch and you're going to need people to stay back because it's going to get freaked out and all of this sort of stuff. And she takes over and takes charge, and people start to listen to her. And she's in charge of keeping people away from the Sasquatch now. About another half an hour after that, you meet Victor coming the other way on the road, trundling a cart behind him, filled with very pungent and rotting manticore offal. And you tell him where to go, like keep it away from the crowds and take it round the back of the Sasquatch pit. And then you can start feeding time. So, what do you want to do? Want to be involved in the feeding? All right. Should we hire more help as well, though, for added comfort for my sanity? I mean, who would you want to hire? This town has got like 100 people in it, and most people are here at the menagerie. Should we put the ladder down and calm the Sasquatch personally, or would that be too dangerous? It might be dangerous. That's up to you. If Apis wants to try and feed this Sasquatch by hand, then you can do so. You can go down into the pit and try and feed it, but there is an element of danger to it, obviously. Make a show of it, allow everyone to watch, but everyone's standing back. Point out to Darren how well people respect Kathleen, just to dig the knife in. Does Apis have animal handling? Yes, they do. You can see over in the skills box the words animal handling. So if we're doing animal handling, we get a +4 to it, unless we're in our favoured terrain of the forest, and somehow the animal handling pertains to being in a forest. Because then we get another 2 to it as well. Forest bonus. We are not in a forest. Call to it from the top. Let it know that we're giving it the food that we promised. It might recognise our voice. Sasquatch at least knows us. We're the only one it knows here, and we do know signs to talk to it. I want to see everyone. If it wanted to see anyone, it would be us. Alright, so are we going down into the pit ourselves? Yes or no? Shall we climb down into the pit to feed the Sasquatch in person? The benefit of doing so could be that we would draw it out from the bushes where people can actually see it and get their fill of like, oh my god, it's actually a Sasquatch. the danger of doing it, it could be that we might be putting ourselves in danger if it freaks out and tries to climb out or attack us or something. All right, with 2/3 of the vote, 2 out of every 3 people think yes, Apis is going to climb down into the pit to feed it in person. So 1/3 of Apis thinks, this is, maybe I shouldn't go down there. But then 1/3 of Apis thinks, this creature needs to be fed, and it'll feel more comfortable if I'm feeding the food rather than just like throwing food at it. And then 1/3 of Apis is like, it might still understand our sign and things and understand us, so we'll be able to like coax it into feeling safe and sound if we're down there with it. So I guess I'll go down and we'll see how it goes. So Apis says to the people, listen, what's going to happen? We've just received the food. I'm going to grab the ladder. I'm going to climb down there. I'm going to feed the Sasquatch, try and lure it out to a point where you guys can see it. So make sure you're back away from. I don't want anybody falling in. I don't want any noises to be made. We all need to be on our best behavior, keeping quiet. Okay, keeping quiet and not doing anything to startle the Sasquatch. Okay, so I am going to, before anything else, I'm going to roll a persuasion check on Apis's behalf to see how well you have persuaded the people that they need to stay back and keep quiet. Because Kathleen is there and she helps you try and crowd control, I will give you advantage. So you have advantage on the roll. Let's use the 2 different Apis dice that we have now. This is going to be a persuasion check. We could also use our magical rope rather than our ladder, yes. Alright, so persuasion check. Brah! That is an 8 or a 10. 10 plus our persuasion of 1 is an 11. Alright, so with an 11 persuasion, Apis tries to persuade the crowd. Don't get too excited, don't get too loud and what have you. I'm going to grab some food and head on down into the pit. So, are we going to use a ladder that we used to get in there in the first place yesterday, or are we going to use our magical rope and like climb down there by a knotted rope instead? The difference is, with a ladder we don't need to make an athletics check, with a rope we do. But with a ladder, Sasquatch doesn't need to make an athletics check, and with the rope it does. We can knot the rope. We can make the rope knot itself at 1 foot intervals, giving us advantage on the athletics check. 2/3 of people wanting to use the rope rather than the ladder, so that's what Apis is going to do. Apis thinks about going to grab the ladder and then thinks, oh, actually, if I use the ladder, this thing could climb her out as well. I've got magic rope. I can use my magic rope to get in and out. So, how are we going to grab the food? Are we going to grab it with our hands? It's like rotting, slimy, several-day-old manticore meat and offal on the back of a wooden cart. Should be sacks around. Find one of those to put it on, attach it to our belt. That's a smart idea. We'll do that one. Drop the meat first. Get a bucket. Yeah, we'll be able to find a bucket. Let's say that they've got a bucket around the menagerie. We ask Darren to run off and grab us a bucket. He does so. We grab the bucket, we get a pitchfork and use that to fill the bucket with just rancid meat. And then we put a little bit of we grab, let's go with our regular rope and up and over our shoulders and tie it on so that the bucket's like hanging down behind our back as we can clamber down the rope. And we grab our magic rope out and we hold one end and we tell the other end to activate, and we give it the Elvish command word, and it kind of like a snake just sort of stays there waiting for the next command. And then we give it the command to tie, and it grabs a hold of the let's say there's a tree that overhangs the pit, and it wraps around the base, the trunk of the tree that's overhanging the pit, and then up and tug. Yeah, that's straight and tight. And so we give it the command to knot itself, and then the rope kind of loops in 1 foot ranges and knots into big lumps, so that every foot there's a knot for us to put our hands and feet on. And then we throw the rest into the pit, and it lands on the ground in like a coil. And then we approach the edge, and we turn around and start to make our way back down into the pit. Moving nice and slow and carefully, with advantage on our athletics check. It's going to be an athletics check +3 because we've got strength and proficiency in it. So that is a 5 and a 6. A 5 and a 6 +3 is 9. Would you like to use your lucky horseshoe, or do you want to hope that 9 is enough to not fall 30 feet into this pit? Most people saying keep the horseshoe for animal handling or something else that we need it for. So how it works with rolling with advantage, rolling a luck point with advantage, means that I take the lower of the two numbers, which in this case was a 5, and I re-roll that one. So I keep the 6, I re-roll the 5, and then I use advantage on whichever happens to be the higher number after the re-roll. I'd say actually 30 feet seems a little much. It's probably closer to like 20 feet, this pit. Just retconning that. I feel like it's probably about a 20-foot pit. Any less and it wouldn't be a pit. And any more and it's like, why did they have such a deep pit around the place? Yeah, I'm going to say 20-foot pit. Alright, 54% of the vote saying no, we are not going to use our lucky horseshoe, we're just going to hope that 9 is enough. So, let me get out my DM screen, where on the back of it, it tells you how much fall damage you're going to take, because 9 is not enough. 9 is almost enough. So because it's almost enough, I'm going to say that you managed to make it at least halfway down before falling. So as you clambering down this rope, you sort of look back and you're making sure that you're going in the right areas. And because the walls are not like smooth stone, there's a moment where you kind of like abseiling, walking your way down the wall, and then a bit of dirt, like one of the rocks that's in the dirt wall of this hut, slips out as your foot hits it, and it turns you backwards, and it slips you round, and your shoulders sort of boom badge into the wall, and it makes your hands slip, and then as you go to grab it, you fall, and you fall about 10 feet. And as you fall, you can make, as a reaction, a dexterity check. A dexterity saving throw, rather. So Apis' dexterity saving throw, you can see that it's white around the dexterity word, meaning that you are proficient in dexterity saving throws. So you get a +3 plus another 2 for being proficient. So you get a +5 to your dexterity saving throws. That is a 4. 4 plus 9 is not enough to make the DC, so you're not going to half the damage. You are going to land prone. Thankfully for you, a 10-foot fall is not a lot of damage. Oh, but I rolled a 4. Unfortunately, they slipped halfway down, fell, and took 4 points of bludgeoning damage as they slammed down hard on the ground. And this is what we're looking at. We have a pit surrounded. We have a pit surrounded by gawkers and hangers-on, and a sasquatch hiding out in the bushes. And as we have clambered down our rope, we've slipped and fallen prone. As we slam down, we hear the sound of what can only be described as a startled well, can't even be described as that because it's a tongue twister. A startled sasquatch who seems to be freaking out, and I need you to roll initiative. As I always say, initiative does not necessarily mean combat. It just means that turn-based situation is important. So, Apis rolls first and gets an 18. 18 plus 3 from dexterity gets us to a 21 initiative. Mel is not yet around. She is not on the initiative order as yet. But if we call out for her, if we get in trouble and call out for Mel, then she's close enough by that she could potentially come and help out. And now let's roll for the Bigfoot. Bigfoot's dexterity. Alright. So with a 21 initiative, Apis will be going first. We need to decide what is Apis going to do on this first turn of combat. In order to decide that, we will open up Nightbot, and we will get you guys to start deciding who's gonna take control of Apis for what they're gonna do in the first round of combat, or the first round of initiative, I should say. You roll well. If you decide well and roll well, then you may be able to prevent this from turning into a combat. But the Sasquatch is a beast that has been encaptured and gawked at for a night and a morning, and a beast that may be hungry and may be frightened and may be cornered and wanting to escape. So there is definitely a very real chance that this thing might attack or try and fight its way out. Did we land on the meat? I would say that we landed down hard and the bucket had fallen out to the side. The bucket has turned and a bunch of the meat has now fallen out of the bucket. We do not stink of meat. We describe the pit. Well, the pit is, in my mind, the pit was much more sort of, it wasn't a regular shape because it hasn't been, it's mainly been repurposed from an existing hole in the ground. But there is a largely nondescript shape, closely akin to a circle, I suppose, for the sake of the map. And down into the pit has been thrown a whole bunch of just garden refuse. There's a few tree branches and a stump of a tree in the center. There's a few logs and dead twigs and broken twigs and things that you can see on the map there. From one side to the other is about 40 feet. Apis is at the bottom of a 20-foot rope that is tied to the tree about 10 feet away. And the Bigfoot is currently less than 30 feet from us. Alright, looks like everybody who wants to be involved has already entered the keyword, so let's roll it. High-tech G33K. Can you let us know that you're in the chat still? You're still here? Ooh, look at that. On time. You've already written it out. Ready to go. I like the efficiency, High-tech. Grab a handful of meat, slowly walk towards Sasquatch, saying softly, "Here's some food," while using the other hand to sign eating. Put the hand to the mouth, etc., while saying, "Shh, it's okay, buddy." So what you're trying there is you're going to use your action to try and animal handling calm this thing down. Love it. All right, let's give that a go. Apis is going to use half of their movement to stand up from prone. Ugh. Apis normally has 25 feet of movement, being a dwarf, so now they've got about 12.5 feet of movement left. You're going to look across to the Sasquatch, who has suddenly started moving, the most they've moved for a while. You also hear a gasp of surprise and some shrieks from the people watching when you fell, and the fact that the Sasquatch is now moving. Everybody suddenly realizes the danger that they could be witnessing. So Apis quickly grabs the bucket and picks it up and starts walking very slowly, very calmly, very carefully towards the Sasquatch, using the remainder of their movement. They're going to have to go around this big old log here, or they're going to have to go around this way. Which would you prefer, High-tech? Would you go to the north or go to the south around this big log? Or are you going to try and clamber up onto the log? To the south. Open branches, line of sight. Awesome. Alright, so you use the rest of your movement to sort of clamber to here. And you are going to use your action to try an animal handling check using some of the signs that we taught it on the way home yesterday. Eating and not danger. Let's roll for it and hope for the best. Apis's animal handling is a +4. We do not get a forest bonus, Wraith. +4 for our animal handling check. So let's roll and see how we go. We always have a lucky horseshoe to re-roll this if it's particularly bad. 2, I would say, is particularly bad. Are we going to horseshoe it? Definitely horseshoe that. I think most people will agree. We don't necessarily want to go with a 6, do we, for this? Any disagreement on using that horseshoe to re-roll a 2 while I try and get this dice cam on? Alright, so most people saying we're going to lucky horseshoe that. So, with the single click of a button luck, with a sparkle of showery flames, Apis decides to re-roll this animal handling check on this Sasquatch and hope for the best. Okay. Looks like we might be going into combat, guys. Alright, so thankfully with a lucky horseshoe you can take the higher of the 2 rolls. It's a re-roll, so you get to use the higher of the 2. A lucky horseshoe essentially gives you advantage. So instead of the natural 1, it'll give you the natural 2. 2 plus your 2 from wisdom, plus 2 from being proficient in it, takes it to a 6. 6 is not the worst, certainly not the best. And given that this thing is a particularly shy, particularly nervous creature at the best of times, being that it's gawked at, being that people are shrieking because of the danger of it, the DC on animal handling was already very high. It was already unlikely, but possible, for you to calm this thing down. A 6 definitively is not enough. So that was your action, your movement. You have a bonus action. As you walk forwards, you're trying to... It's okay, buddy, it's okay. Shh. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just here to feed you. And you're like trying to walk forwards with this bucket of rancid meat and show it that you mean it no harm. You can tell immediately. Apis is good enough at insight and animal handling to know that this is not working. This is a very scared animal that is looking desperately for a way out of his current predicament. You have a bonus action. It's still Geek's turn. High-tech Geek. What do you want to do as your bonus action? In case you're unaware, there are a few things you can do for your bonus action. Unfortunately, you've used up all of your movement to stand up from prone and then walk towards him, so you can't move anymore. And you're not a rogue or a monk, so you can't dash as a bonus action. You can definitely drop the meat for free, though. You can drop the meat, so that's a free action. And then you can, as a bonus action, you could cast you can see under spells, you can cast Zephyr Strike, or you can cast Hunter's Mark. So if you cast Zephyr Strike, one of the things it gives you is an extra 20-foot movement or something. I can't remember. 20-foot movement when you make an attack on that turn. Let me look up Zephyr Strike. Zephyr Strike. You move like the wind. Until the spell ends, your movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Once before the spell ends, you can give yourself advantage on one weapon attack roll on your turn. That attack deals an extra 1d8 force damage on a hit. Whether you hit or miss, your walking speed increases by 30 until the end of that turn. Hightech says, can I use Zephyr Strike without attacking, throw the mate, and dash to the rope to climb out? So you can cast Zephyr Strike as a bonus action, but you will not have any more movement on this turn. You only gain the extra movement when you make the extra attack with the 1d8 weapon damage. So you can cast Zephyr Strike now, and then the person who is next in control of Apis on the next round can decide to make an attack or like throw the meat as an attack, I would say, and then they can use their extra movement to get out. But you won't be able to do the extra bonus movement now. So do you want to cast Zephyr Strike for a future turn, or do you want to cast Hunter's Mark, or do you want to just nothing with your bonus action? You can draw a weapon as your bonus action as well. You've already had object interact with the buckets and the meat and everything. So if you wanted to draw a weapon right now, it would be a bonus action. Okay, cast Zephyr Strike to set up our escape. Awesome. Okay, well done, High Tech. That is what we are going to do. So with the single click of the button, look, pew, away goes a spellberry. As Apis, realizing the danger they're in, realizes that when an attempt is futile and abandons the decision. They drop the bucket of meat on the floor and they think, I'm going to have to get away from this. This is a very dangerous situation I've put myself in. I don't know what I was thinking. And they focus down on Altamez's guidance to move like the wind as they're hunting. Actually, this wouldn't be Altamez. This would probably be from one of the other gods that's granting you this. One of the other nature gods is granting you the ability to move like the wind. You turn to start moving, but that is all you can manage on your turn. That is a good round. Unfortunately, the dice were not with you. High tech. Drawing a weapon on a nervous creature is probably not the best choice. No, but it might be a situation of like defending yourself at this point. Okay, then it is the Bigfoot's turn. The Bigfoot is going to, as we are realizing it's failing. We see this because the Bigfoot is like right up against the wall of the, and it is making noises that we have not heard it make before. It is freaking out. It is looking in both directions to try and find a way out, and then it seems to look past us to the rope, and then it looks back at us, and its eyes meet ours temporarily. And just as we're about to turn to move, just as we've cast a Zephyr Strike and we're about to run, we look back one last time and we catch its eyes. And as we do so, its eyes seem to be swirling with purples and greens and yellows. There's this kaleidoscopic sort of swirling pattern that starts from the outside of its sclera and works its way very quickly into the iris and the pupils. And we seem almost drawn in by it. It's almost like that vertigo feeling of the rest of the surroundings are disappearing as our vision is drawn into the Sasquatch. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw. Pop. Wisdom. 17. Look at that. 17 plus your wisdom modifier of 2. That's 19. For a brief moment, you feel almost confused, almost lured in and confused by this creature and what situation you're in. That for the briefest of seconds, you feel like you're not sure where you were or what you were doing down here. And then you realize the danger as the next thing you know, these huge hands have slammed down on top of the tree stump in front of you, launching its entire body weight up onto the tree stump. And then its tinier legs but larger feet push off, and both hands go into fists as it brings it down with a multi-attack strike at you. One is a 16 to hit, which will hit your armor class of 14, you can see in the corner there. And one is a nat 20 to hit, which will also hit your armor class of 14. So the 16 to hit will do 7 points of bludgeoning damage. We have now taken 11 damage. And the nat 20 will do 9 points of damage. So we've now taken 20 points of damage as both of its fists slam into us, one of them catching our shoulder and it feels like it dislocates us, and the other one slams right into the chest, right beneath our chin, slamming us back a little bit and doing a decent chunk of damage. And then it is going to use the rest of its movement. It went bump. It's difficult terrain to get up onto there, so it's gone 20, 25 because of difficult terrain. It now has another 5 feet of movement. It goes towards the rope here. And people scream. People are now screaming and making a lot of noise up there. And you can just about make out Kathleen above the crowd going, "Oh, everybody, calm down, calm down!" I am going to add Kathleen to the initiative order. And she got lower than the Bigfoot. The Bigfooted. Footy. Sasquatch. Allies. There's Kathleen. Yes, it is leaving your melee range. If you want to take you don't have any weapons drawn, so if you want to make an attack of opportunity on it, you can punch or kick or something, but that's all you could do. This is why you don't climb into a pit with a Sasquatch. We're not bloodied because we've taken 20 of 45, so we're not below half our health yet. Meat is down on the ground. There was meat on the ground where we are because we dropped the bucket as a free action, but there's also some meat that spilled out where we fell, so roughly where its feet are. Can we command the rope? Not from a distance. You need to be in contact with the rope. You cannot try and grapple it as an attack of opportunity. An attack of opportunity has to be one single melee attack. So you don't have any weapons drawn, so your melee attack would be unarmed strike, and it would be a punch or a kick. Or a headbutt. Alright, I don't think we're going to be making an unarmed strike at it. So it is now Kathleen's turn, your ally's turn. She wasn't ready for it to be... Actually, no, she would have been ready for it because she knows the danger of situations like this. She doesn't get to be a badger of the Knights of Kovosna without being ready for danger. Especially when somebody says they're going to climb down into a pit with a legendary rare forest monster. So it is going to... so Kathleen is going to... she wouldn't have a ranged weapon on her though. She uses her longsword. She wouldn't have a crossbow. She doesn't just carry one round issued. Or would she? She can't defend a town without a crossbow. I'm going to roll to see if she has decided to put on her crossbow this morning. I'm going to give it a percentage chance. What are the chances she was... what was her intent for the morning when she woke up? She was going to be looking after the Altabris celebrations. She was going to the menagerie. She didn't know that there was a Sasquatch in the menagerie. She just knew that there was a badger at worst. But there is a danger of, like, Sally returning. So there's a chance of that. Would she have brought her crossbow with her? Let's see. Yes, she does have her crossbow with her. So she, seeing you going down, she would have prepared this already. She's gotten the crossbow off her shoulder and just held it in her hand. And then as soon as you fell, she pulled back the wire and waited. And then as you got up and started walking forwards and it let out a roar and jumped towards you, she would have pulled up, grabbed a bolt out of the quiver, loaded it and taken aim. And then for her turn, she's going to fire off an arrow. Fire off a crossbow bolt. 19 plus stuff to hit will hit. She is going to deal minimum damage to it. As the crossbow strikes across one of its larger long arms. As it's running forwards, it's only doing only serves to freak it out more. She's going to use her movement to start running round towards it, pushing these people back as she runs, and shouting, "Everybody get back! Get back!" She's going to push this guy back, going to push these guys back as she runs around the edge of the pit, and then she shouts, "Darren! Darren!" And then Darren is going to use his turn and his action to run. He's making his way over to you. It's going to be a couple of rounds before he gets there, though. That is your ally's turn. It is back to the top of the round with Apis. Let's see who got it. Mythical Turian, can you please make known that you are still here? You have an active... actually, it smacked you twice with 2 different attacks, so I need you to make a Constitution saving throw to see if you can concentrate on the Zephyr Strike. Constitution saving throw number 1 from the first strike. That is a 15 plus your con mod of 2, I believe, so that's a success. And then Constitution save, the second, is another 15. So you are, even despite getting smacked in the chest twice, you find that you are still concentrating on the Zephyr Strike. So Mythical, it's up to you. What is Apis going to do? You've just been slammed in the chest by this Sasquatch, who is now making a beeline for the rope. Mel, yes, that is a good point. Mel would have been as far away as Darren. So if Darren heard it, Mel would have as well, and she would have come to investigate too. So I will roll for Mel. Let me use one of Mel's dice. Mel's dice. Ugh, not greatest initiative, Mel. So she is going to come in here. Initiative order is Apis, Bigfoot, Mel, and Mel's militia if they come with, and then your allies, which is at this stage the Knights of Kavosna. So, Mythical, did you answer? We need to make signs to the guy closest to the rope to get away from it. If the Sasquatch gets up that rope, the dude is vulnerable. The more we hurt it, the more it's going to get freaked out. Put some distance between us and the Sasquatch, and yell at Kathleen to not go alone against it. Alright, so Apis is going to put as much distance between us and the Sasquatch as possible by backing up around here through difficult terrain here, getting to around here-ish. So there you go. You get as much distance as you can between you and the Sasquatch. And you yell up to Kathleen, don't go against it. I think it's too much for one person. Don't go against it alone. You get out of the way. Everybody just get out of its way. All right, we shout up to get out of the way. We have our action. That was just our movement. Shouting is pretty much a bonus action, or like a free action, depending on how much you're trying to achieve with it. If you want to like roll a persuasion check or something, then that's going to be that's going to be your action to actually do it. Otherwise, you can dash as your action, or you can dodge or hide or whatever you want. What would you like to do with your action, Mythical? What side is the town on? The town is down in the south east of where we are currently. The forest that we came from is originally up in this corner to the northeast. Jack Creed's farm is to the northwest, and there's nothing to the southwest. We did use both Inspiration and Lucky Horseshoe already today, yes. Kathleen versus Bigfoot, let's go! What do you want to do as your action, Mythical Turian? Hopefully it's going to decide to go towards the forest. Hopefully so. The rest of the menagerie is kind of to our... I'd say the rest of the menagerie is kind of to the north, the sort of west of where we are currently. That's how I picture it. Alright, cure wounds, just in case it goes to the town instead of the forest. Cool. Good idea. Alright, so... One more spellberry used as we hold our hands to our wounds from being bludgeoned in the chest by its massive strong fists. We focus down on the healing energy that was granted to us by Flonanshale, the goddess of healing, and we let her magic course through us, and we recover 3 plus our wisdom modifier, which is 2, so we recover 5 hit points. So we are down 15 hit points. We're on 30 of 45 hit points. That was our action, our movement, and then I'll say a bonus action to try and get people to get the hell out of the way. Alright. We are on to Bigfoot's turn. The Bigfoot is going to run to the rope with only like 4 or 5 feet of movement, and then it's going to use its climb speed to climb this rope without needing to make a check. It has a climb speed of 40 feet, so it gets to the top having only used 20 feet, and it's got I'll say another 10 feet, because now it's no longer climbing, it's got another 10 feet of movement. It is going to turn to this guy as it runs past. And Apis can't quite see what's happening, but you can tell from a distance that this guy he's basically using his confusing gaze on the guy again. So wisdom save for that guy. That is a fail. Ooh boy, forgot I gave him psychic damage as well. Ooh, nasty. Is that enough to go down? Not quite. On the verge. That guy is wounded. That guy is wounded by the psychic damage. You hear a as he falls to the ground and clutches his head. From your position 20 feet down in the pit, you can just about see him as he falls out of sight. And then he's going to use the rest of his movement to run that direction. That is the Bigfoot's turn. His action, his movement, that's all he's going to do. It is now Mel's turn. Mel is going to buzz in. She's quite far away, but with a with 50-foot fly speed. She manages to get all the way to him with, let's see, how much is 50 feet? Let me work it out, because she was coming from the other area, right? So 70 and then another 30, that's fine. So she can probably get to him with a dash. She's going to dash in. She's going to be like over here. She's going to get to somewhere around here or so with her regular movement, and then with a dash she'll get to about there, like flying after this thing. She shouts down in Sylvan as she flies after him. That's Mel's turn. She used her action. It is now your allies' turn, Kathleen and Warren. She is going to reload her crossbow. She's going to take a stand here and fire off a round at the Sasquatch. Ooh, nope, that one will miss with a 3. 3 plus something will whiff off and hit the trunk of this tree instead. Darren uses his turn to get in here, and his movement to get there, and his action to dash after Kathleen. What's happening? What's happening? Oh God, how did it get out? Alright, that is Ally's turn. It is back to Apis. We're going to draw Apis. I should have drawn Apis first to give you some time to think about what to do. My bad, my fault, whoops. Alright, let's draw it. Sparrow, fly away. You're still in the chat. I can see you there, crying. What are you going to do, Sparrow? Take a moment to think. I should have drawn it before. I should have drawn it before the allies' turn, so that you had the allies' turn to think about it. You got this, Sparrow. What are you going to do? You've got movement, you've got bonus action, you've got your action, and you've got Zephyr Strike currently still up. Go for the rope. We got to go after it. We're not much use stuck in this pit. All right, let's do it. So, seeing that it climbed that thing hand over hand like it was not even anything, we realised, oh damn, this ape-like creature with the massive long arms that lives in the forest, it's pretty good at climbing, it seems. So we use our 25 feet of movement to get to there. We've got to use our action to dash in order to go another 25 feet. We've got roughly 5 feet towards the rope, and then 20 feet halved because we don't have a climb speed. So we can get about 10 feet up this rope if we roll a successful athletics check. Because we knotted the rope, we get advantage on the athletics check. And because we have a +1 strength and proficiency in athletics, we get to add 3 to whatever this is about to roll. So let me turn on the dice cam so that you guys can see Apis rolling. With advantage +3, we've got a nat 1 or a 14. 14 plus 3 is 17. 17 is enough to climb this rope. So you hand over hand with your dash and your movement, with your movement and your dash, yeah, you manage to get 10 feet up this rope. You've got a bonus action, but there's nothing really you can do for it. You want me to stick that d20 in the dice jail, the one that keeps rolling ones today, and then I drop it in and it rolls a 2. All right, that one can sit in the dice jail for now, just to show it what it's up for if it rolls poorly again. Can we say the retract word to have the rope pull us up further? Ooh, that's a clever idea. Yeah, maybe. Let me quickly look up the rope of commanding. I know it's one of my own device, but rope of climbing is not. I think it's if it's a bonus action to command it, then yes, I will say that you can do that. Let me quickly look. Rope of climbing. Use an action to tell it to animate. It's already done that. As a bonus action, you can command the other end to move towards a destination. Blah blah blah. You can also tell the rope to fasten itself, unfasten itself, not blah blah blah. So it's an action to actually get it to animate in the first place. But once it's animated, which it is, you can use it, command it as a bonus action. So very clever, Sparrow. I will allow you to do so. You will as you're climbing up this thing, you get about halfway up and you're like, this thing's going to get away, and you suddenly remember, I can get this rope to bring me up all the way. And you say, retract! And you shout the word retract as best as you remember it in Elvish. And for a moment it doesn't seem to do anything. And you're like, damn, it doesn't seem to work. And then the rope beneath you catches you on its way back up, and you realise that it had done something. It's just you were already halfway up it. And so as it started to coil up from the back, from the bottom end, you've shouted coil at it, and it started to coil itself up, but you were already halfway up. It took a few seconds for it to actually catch up to you, and the part that you're holding on to is now starting to coil up. And with the rest of the coiling movement, the rope brings you to the top. You pulled all the way up to the tree. That is your entire turn, Sparrow, with an action to dash, a movement, and a bonus action to retract the rope rather. In the meantime, though, that was Apis's turn. It is now the Bigfoot's turn. If the target's saving throw is successful, the target is immune to the confusing gaze of the Sasquatch for X amount of time. So the Sasquatch knows that. It's not going to try and confuse and gaze you again, but it does see you running up behind it and zooming up behind it with a magic rope. Is it going to dash, or is it going to bash you? Is it going to dash or bash? Put myself in its shoes. It's trying to get out of there. It's going to dash. So it leaves your melee range. Are we taking an attack of opportunity with unarmed strikes? We've got nothing in our hands, so we're just going to punch it, kick it, or are we going to let it go? Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it in the pit anymore. Yeah, let it go. All right, so we're gonna let it go as it leaves our melee range. It is going to go how far? It's going to go 30 feet, pretty much straight in this direction, running towards the forest, and it's going to dash. It's going to go another 30 feet. So it is now off of the map, up in this direction, but it's 60 feet from us. We can still see it. Unlike this map, it's not quite as filled with trees in this area. Think it's got one in every two of these trees. It's not quite as wooded as this map seems to make it look. It started to run. People are screaming and shouting and things. Now it is this guy's turn. This guy goes right after the Bigfoot because he is considered confused. Now let me look up the confusion spell, because there's a chance that he has to make a strike against you. What does he do? What does he do? Let's have a look. How far away from the forest? From him. Isn't he headed towards the forest? He is headed towards the forest. The forest is a good 10-minute walk away from here. So running at his speed, he'll probably get there in 5 minutes. We still have Zephyr Strike open, by the way, just FYI. Confusion. Let's have a look. What does he do? With his psychic mind and his confusion, he's going to roll a d10 to see what he does on his turn. He has to not move or take actions this turn. Alright, so he drops to the ground. As we get up there and the Sasquatch runs, we sort of look over to the guy who dropped before, and you can tell that he's not dead. As he's sort of just massaging his temples. He doesn't move or take actions this turn. The rest of people, though, start to freak out. Mel is going to go after him because she doesn't know anything else. You spent hours trying to capture this guy, so she assumes that you still want him. She goes after him, and she's going to... Does she summon a swarm? Oh, what's her radius of her soporific spores? 15-foot radius cloud. Does she know if she is within range or not? 15-foot radius. Ooh, right on the cusp. Alright, athletics check, Mel. See if you can push yourself to get a little bit further than your speed would allow. Athletics check. Hey, she does. She manages to get a little bit closer. Pushes her wings just a little bit too far. And And then she's going to drift down her soporific spores. As she's flying forwards, she just catches up to just about the edge where he is as he runs, and she lets loose her pollen, which drifts down until it gets to about level with him, and then starts to wave her back and forth in a soporific hypnotic pattern, and he has to make a Constitution saving throw DC. Okay. He makes it though. Bugger. Could have worked. Does not. That is Mel's turn. Let's draw Apis before we go into allies' turns. 3, 2, 1. Alt_Tabber. Are you still in the chat? Can you confirm for us that you're still here? Has Mel's sport ever worked? It did work against a bunch of the twig blights and things, yes. You're still here. Awesome, Altabris. It is your turn, so you start thinking what Apis is going to do in a few seconds. Once we've done with the allies. You have an action, a movement, and a bonus action. You also still are concentrating on your Zephyr Strike. It is your ally's turn. She runs forwards. Kathleen runs forwards. Are you okay? Are we killing this thing, or what's happening? Does Darren have any ranged weapons on us? Let's see. I'll roll for him as well, just as I did for Kathleen. Let me roll for Darren to see if he put his crossbow on this morning. He did not. 66 on the dice. So he doesn't have any option. He runs over and just keeps yelling, get back, everybody get back! And he uses all of his movement and a dash to run generally in the vicinity of this thing. Kathleen runs over, cocks the crossbow, and stands next to you and says, "What do we do, Apis?" And she's aiming after it. She's waiting on your command. So, do you say yes or no? Talking's free action. I don't mind it happening outside of round order. Do not shoot. Let it go. All right. Yeah, most people in agreement, saying, "No, don't shoot." We put our hands out and just on top of the crossbow, and she puts it down. She calls out, "Darren, let it go!" And then on Apis's turn, it looks like we might be out of turn order, but Altabris, what do you want to do? It's your turn. This may well be the final round of the combat. What do you want to do, Altabris? You have an action, a bonus action, and a movement. Can we see it on the map first? It's off of the map. It's run far enough now that it's no longer on the map, and I can't pull my map far enough across to actually show you it. It is off of here. It's about where the dark vision is on the. Alt says we're gonna call out to Mel to get back, move towards the injured villager, and see if we can help him. Awesome. All right. So we will do so. We call out after we put our hand on Kathleen and say, "No, don't shoot her." We see Mel. That we see the soporific spores drifting down. We say, "Mel, leave it alone. Mel, come back." And then we walk over to this guy and say, I think he managed to hurt this one." And you walk over to him. So that's bonus action to persuade Mel to come back. Movement to get to this guy and cure wounds. You've got one last spell slot. Are you going to cure wounds him? Altabris. Could we do a medicine check to heal him? So medicine check can stabilize someone who is dying, but you can't heal in many hit points. So cure wounds will give him hit points back. A long rest will give him hit points back. But the only other way to get him hit point back outside of those is like a potion or something. Medicine checks will stabilize someone who is on 0 and dying. This guy is not on 0, he's on 1 hit point. Cure wounds then. Don't think we need to track the Sasquatch now. Alrighty. So you're using your action, the last of the spells for the day. As we cure wounds this guy, because you used your action to help somebody in need, I will say that's a very Apis thing to do, even though it leaves you with 0 spells for the rest of the day. So I'm going to give you inspiration for that. Well done. You acted very much in character for how we know Apis to be. Now let's roll d8 plus 2 to see how many hit points he gets back. Oh, 7. 9 hit points back, which is more than what he got damaged with. So you see him kind of, and he looks up to you, and you see that his nose has started to bleed, and there's some blood pooling at the sides of his ears and the tear ducts of his eyes as well. And you're like, oh shit, this doesn't look good. And you lay your hands on his head and you give him some calming words. Don't worry, pal. You'll be okay. Flon and Shale, it was my fault that this man got injured. Please lay your hands on him and cure him for his whatever ails him inside of his head. And as you do so, your hands warm up with a warm sort of golden glow, and you see the bleeding stops. It's still there, the blood's still there, but it doesn't get retracted or sucked back into his face. But the source of it and the psychic damage that was done inside of his head seems to have been healed up, and the guy just like crumples over and breathes heavily. It's been a long day on an empty stomach. It certainly has, yeah. Get some food and play some games, yeah. Right? Get some quiet colouring in now. All right. So over the next few minutes, the Malcolm's buzzing back in. Are you okay? This guy's no longer wounded, and the Bigfoot takes off back into the fair woods, potentially never to be seen again, until Apis maybe wants to track them down again. Who knows? There's a lot of pacifying of the community to do now. People are excited about what happened. There's a lot of talk about what's happened. This crowd has like doubled in size, just like that. Look, there you go. Look, you got doubled in size people. They've all multiplied. We've got all of their twins come along to join. And what do you want? What does Apis want to do with the rest of their day after like half an hour of sort of debriefing what had happened and what went wrong, and Apis thinking about the mistakes that they made. Which of the games and things does Apis want to do? People have made their way over to Franklin's thing for lunch, because it's lunchtime now. A lot of people are kind of like, well, that was a fun morning, but what else is there to do? And they just kind of make their way onto the next thing. They're not really that bothered about it. That was a mighty sasquatch, one of the wonders Altabris has to offer. Thank you, Altabris, for the beasts of the world. And it's out there for somebody to hunt again in future. So you don't think that Altamez would be, well, you hope that Altamez wouldn't be disappointed with what's happened. Altabris is the beast, the god of beasts and hunting, and it is still a living beast that is back out in its natural habitat for other creatures to hunt now. So it's probably not that big of an issue. As you're making your way back through the crowd, you see Mosh arriving. He goes, what was all that about? I heard there was the damn Sasquatch got out. Is that right? You're like, yeah. Unfortunately, I went down into the pit to feed it, and it attacked me and climbed out. You're like, you went into the pit to feed it? Yeah, I thought it was a good idea at the time. Why? I don't really know, but there's a part of me knew that it was a stupid idea, but a much bigger part of me decided that it was a smart idea to get into the pit, and I don't know, I guess in hindsight maybe I shouldn't have, but hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? Alright. I mean, sure. Well, you're okay? I am okay. But hey, at least it's back in its natural terrain now, so I suppose in hindsight it might have been the best thing for it, because I did feel weird about it being in a captive environment. So at least people got to see it while it lasted, and now it gets to go home and live in the forest again. Anyway, how did your sign up go for your hunt? He goes, yeah, not bad. Got most of the people who want to sign up are signed up now, so I got the rest of the day to
just chill. And I was gonna try some of the archery competition and stuff, and maybe give that a whirl. You done any of the little games around? No, not yet. I was actually feeling rather hungry now that the adrenaline's worn off. I think I could do with some food. I was gonna go to Franklin's stall and get some food. He goes, "Oh yeah, you should see some of the things he's made. He's quite cute." He said, "Is that right?" And so you wander on over to Franklin's stall, and you see that he's made some round bread buns that he's taken like toothpicks, like splinters of wood, really thin splinters of wood, and he's pierced them in, and they look like hedgehogs. He's also made some long buns, kind of like the iced buns that you got, and he's taken some feathers, and he's fluffed up the feather. You know how feathers are like they all stick together, flight feathers anyway, and he's like deliberately like broken up the feathers so they all stick out like kind of fluffy and broken, and he's stuck the fluffy feather in the back of these long buns and put a couple of little eyes on the front, like little currants or something on the front to make it look a bit like a squirrel with a big fluffy squirrel tail. He's baked some loaves, but he's baked them in with different dough so that it's striped loaves, and they kind of resemble badgers. And then you see over on Gretchen's table with Gretchen and Quentin, there's a platter of small vegetables arranged to look a little bit like the face of a fox with whiskers and stuff. And Mosh brings you over. He's like, "These are my favorite. Check out how Gretchen's arranged her vegetables here." And you walk over and he points it out and gives you a wink. And then apparently there's a pig coming. They've got a pig on a spit for tonight. And I'm like, all right, yeah then. So we have some lunch. We'll how much to pay for some of that lunch? I reckon maybe like 2 silver. Let's go back to the main page now. I'll mark off 2 silver for a couple of nice pieces of the little buns and bread and things, and then a few of the veggie platters. And then what do you want to do? What's Apis's plan for the day? What stalls and games do you want to play with? I know a few people wanted to do some drawing. See if does Apis go to the drawing first? Drawing and archery. All right, let's go for the drawing first. People want to just have a chill moment, so Apis is feeling a little bit shaken from this morning, so they head on over, and your hands still smell like rancid meat, by the way, because at first you weren't touching it using the pitchfork and stuff into the bucket, but then you were like, once everything went to shit immediately, you picked up the bucket and were like, oh god, here, have some meat, and then had to drop it, and so your hands still smell like you've washed them a couple of times now, and they still kind of out damned spot. Then you make your way over to the drawing competition, the drawing table, which is being run by Oliver, the prospective squire. And you greet him, and he says, "Well, that was quite something this morning, wasn't it?" "Hey, it was." "So what are we drawing here?" He goes, "Yeah, you can draw whatever you want. I've got some prompts for you if you want to draw something, but you can draw anything you want. Maybe draw a sasquatch." He laughs, and you're like, "Yeah, maybe." Alright, so if you have proficiency with painter's supplies, you can add your proficiency bonus to this check. Otherwise, it'll be either a dexterity check or an intelligence check. Intelligence check if you're trying to draw something from like memory, from like you're trying to create something based on something you already know. A dexterity check if you're using one of his prompts and like copying it and trying to do a good job of copying it. So what do you want to draw? You want to draw Mel? Draw Mel. Maybe we're better at drawing panpipes instead of playing them. Well, with us, we actually have a +3 in dexterity and intelligence, so it won't actually make a tangible difference which one we have. We are not proficient in calligrapher's tools, we are not proficient in painter's supplies, and so we won't have our proficiency bonus added to this. It'll just be a straight roll. A +3. Let's see how well we draw. Lokara. Yeah, we could spell Lokara.
Could spell look arrow, could paint look arrow. That is a 9. 9 plus 3, that's a 12. Slightly above average, so we're not the best drawer, but it's an okay drawing. We use some of the pencils and and then the wax crayons to kind of colour it in a little bit, and it's a bit chill. We enjoy. We've drawn a little picture of Mel, and then we show her it. What do you think? I don't know. What is it? It's you. What? It's you. What is me? The drawing that I drew. This drawing. Oh. I don't understand. How is it me? It's a drawing. It's a drawing of you. Oh, it is. This is what you see when you see me. That's right. Yeah. Do I look like that? I mean, kind of. Yeah. That's what you. Oh, right. I have never seen myself before. Oh, right. We should find you some. We should find some like water or something, and then you can look in the reflection, or I can get a mirror for you or something. Do I have these things on the? And one of the legs comes forward and points. These things here, those are the legs. Are these my legs? Yeah, these are the legs underneath. That's. Oh, that is. Do I have so many? I mean, there's 6. You've got 6 of them. Do I have 6 legs? Yes, you do. Can you not see your legs? No, I can't. My head does not. My head is attached to my body, so I cannot see anything below these 2. And she brings her 2 front legs forward. All right. Well, there you go then. She's not a very smart bee, no. Sure. And it's in conversations like this when you remember that Mel is just an animal at the end of the day. She's just she has the brain of a beast. A very smart beast, but still a beast. Oh, I'm not. I mean, I probably could have done a better. You don't look exactly like this. The legs, I suppose the legs don't. They're not in one plane like this. They're like 3-dimensional. But I'm not the best artist. But you could maybe I'll try again. You get another piece of paper. 10, one better. You do a 13 at trying to draw a better version of the bee, and then you're like, I think that's as good as I can do. I feel like that's better. Is there a character artist at the fair that could draw a picture of us and Mel? Well, the reason Oliver's running the thing is that he's a pretty good artist. He's pretty good at drawing. So you ask Oliver, are you good at drawing? And he goes, I'm passable. Could you draw Mel for us? I'm not doing a good job, and apparently she's never seen herself before. He goes, yeah, of course. Let me give it a go. What do you want to do? And just sitting there on a flower, or I love Oliver. Can we keep him? Trace the shape of her lying down and colour it in. We don't have paper big enough for that. She's the size of a potbelly pig. Maybe like on a flower or something. Yeah, sure. Let me give it a go. He is going to roll in. Oh, he gets one better than you, but thankfully he has proficiency in it. So, yeah, it's much better than yours, but still not the best. He's used to drawing people who will sit still for it, and Mel doesn't sit still for his drawing. So he gives nice. Draw Mel like one of your French girls. And you show her it, and he goes, and she goes, "Oh, I see. Right, this is me, and this is the stinger at the back of me." Yeah, that's right. I thought I was bigger than that. And it is very small. It's not to scale. Like this is just a drawing on paper. Like you're this big, but this drawing we don't have paper that. Oh, I see. Yes, right. So it is not. It is a picture of what I would look like if I was Tiny Bee. Yes, sure. Yeah, kind of like that. So you've spent like a little while doing some draw. Why didn't you draw that then? Apis? Abstract thought is hard. Yeah. What you'd look like from a distance. That's right. Gives up. Pats Mel. Well done, Mel. What do you want to do next? Go to the archery? I think most people were saying do the archery thing, right? Alright, so it is a we walk over to the Carl running the archery competition. Yes, it is. So Carl is going to run the archery competition. He says in order to enter, it is 5 copper pieces, and then you get 5 shots. It was 5 shots, and it's the best of 5. If you can hit the bullseye with at least 3 of them, then you win the major prize. All right, so we walk over to Carl's stall and we ask him if we can play, and he says, "Of course, yeah. I imagine if anyone was going to win the main prize, it's you." So he takes the 5 copper from us, and then it's a matter of rolling against the target. Have you learned your lesson yet, Dice in Jail? Let's find out. So we check the arrows out. They all seem to be well-made arrows. He's a Fletcher by trade, partly. It's one of the things that he does as a blacksmith in town. So he makes arrows, and they're pretty good. They're decent quality. So we knock one and let it loose. 15 plus our attack modifier, our arrow attack modifier, which as you can see below is a 7, is a 22 to hit, and it strikes into the ring right next to the bullseye. The bullseye being about the diameter of the bottom of my mug. And we're about 50 feet away or so. So pretty good. And he goes, "Ooh, already won your money back. Can we hunter's mark the target to get advantage?" The hunter's mark doesn't give advantage. The hunter's mark does extra damage. So you could hunter's mark the target and then break it with your arrows. And then second arrow, strike! Same again. On the other side of the target, another 22. Also, we've got no spells anyway. You didn't have any spells in the dream either. Break the target. You can't prove it wasn't a bullseye. Third strike. Plain a warrior just to show off. 17. 17 plus 7 is a 24. As we walk across, we check out where it hit. And it's right on the verge. It's on the line between bullseye and not. And he comes over and he goes, "Ooh, I might give you that. Let's see how you do with your last 2." 19. 19 plus 7 is 26. With this one, right into the center of the bullseye. And with our last arrow, we're feeling confident after 2 in the inner ring, 1 on the verge, and 1 into the bullseye. Let loose. Holy shit! 18. You needed an 18 or more to hit the bullseye. You got a 19, an 18, and a 17. The 17's right on the verge. So, well, you needed a 20. You needed a 25 to hit the bullseye, and because you had a plus 7, you needed an 18 or more. So 18, 20. So wait, 22. That takes it to exactly 25, which takes us to 119. 119 over all 3 dice. Over all 3. Of all 5 attacks, you needed 100 to win the cash prize. You needed 100 or more from all 5 attacks. So you've won the cash prize, and with 2 of your 3 arrows hitting the bullseye, and 1 of them just on the bullseye, The crowd that has now started to form around you, about 6 or 7 people or so, are all like cheering for you, and yeah, and Mosh is like, yay, go Apis. And then they walk over to Carl, and Carl's like, adjudicating. All right, I need some non-biased second eyes on this. Okay, so come on over. And he gets the crowd to come over, and he's like, right, we're going to take a vote on it. Is this one count as bullseye or not? And because you got a 24 and you needed a 25, I'm going to put it down to a percentage chance of success. And it's basically the crowd deciding whether or not it counts. I'm going to give it a 50-50 chance. So less than 50 on these percentage dice, and the crowd are going to give it to you. More than 50 and they won't. That is a 30 and a 0. So the crowd decide, yeah, that's a bullseye. That counts as a bullseye. And so he goes, right, you are. The crowd has spoken. Come on over. And he gets the money that he's been collecting today. So you put down 5 copper. He gives you 5 silver back. You also get 6 arrows that are considered +1 arrows. They're not magical, but they are so well made, out of particularly nice hard wood and polished arrowheads and things. It's mastercraft work, so it's essentially +1 arrows, and you have 6 of them, as the hitting 3 out of the 5 bullseyes. I will need to add another arrow thing now. We've got 19 regular arrows, 4 fire arrows, 1 tranquilizer arrow. And we need 6 +1 arrows, meaning they're a +1 to attack and a +1. Sorry, not a +1 to attack, but they're a +1 to damage. So what next? We want to go and do the pin the arrow on the donkey situation, don't we? And get in with a chance to win the secret prize. So we thank Carl for his work. We walk past the deer antler ring toss that Trevor's running, and we walk over to the Colton's stall, which is strike the deer with the arrow, and we see a whole bunch on this painted sign, this picture of this deer that's kind of like looking startled, and you've got to aim for right between its eyes. That's the idea. On this deer, there's a whole bunch of X's in the paint that they dip the arrow in the paint, and then you walk forward blindfolded and try and stick it in the right place. And then next to each of the X's is a little name written on of who it was and how close they are. And you can see some of them that are just like way over on the back end, and some of them that are barely hit it at all. So if you want to play, it's 5 copper to jump in, 5 copper to have an attempt. If we lost after the archery competition, it'd be very embarrassing. Do we want to play? Yes or no? Are we going to play this pin the arrow on the donkey competition? All right. So let me mark off another 5 copper, taking us down to 17 that happen to be honours. We've still got a bunch of gold stashed in our bank as well, somewhere as well. Except. Alright, so we step up to the mark and we say, I'd love to play, and Mary says, of course you do. Come on up, we'll get you blindfolded. And she takes off one of the pieces of ribbon that's nearby on the table, and she wraps it around your eyes and ties it on tight. Can't see anything, can you? No, can't see anything. Alright, and then she takes you out and stands you and says, right. And she pulls up the thing to give you one last look, and she says, that's where you're aiming for, get a good look, that's about how high it needs to be, and which direction you're headed, right, good, and then puts it down, and then whoo, suddenly starts to spin you around, and you're like, oh god, oh shit. And it is essentially a skill check to win this competition. First is an intelligence check to see if you can kind of keep a track of which way is the right way to even walk in the first place. In fact, thinking about it, I'm going to make this a perception check, not an intelligence check. I'm going to make it a perception check because you're listening to sort of the sounds of where the crowds were, and you're using your wisdom rather than intelligence because you're kind of just keeping a track of which way is north and which way the breeze was moving and stuff before you were spun to try and get an idea of whether you're even facing in the right direction at the first place. So I'm going to change that. It's not an intelligence check, it's a perception check. So first, perception check. That is a 4. A 4 plus our 2 from wisdom is a 6, plus 2 from being proficient at it is an 8. Do we want to re-roll with inspiration? We got an 8 on our first check to see if we were even going in the right direction. What do you guys think? Do we shoot someone to death on a nat 1? You're not actually aiming this arrow. You have an arrow in your hand that has been dipped in paint, and you just have to walk forwards, pin the tail on the donkey style, until eventually you get to the tree, and then you put your cross where you think it is. See if we can get a consensus. 82% people saying no, we're not. All right, so with an 8 on our perception check, all right, which way are we going? We start stumbling off in one direction, and you can hear from the laughter of the kids watching.
It's not even going the right way.
All right. After being spun around and to the point of being dizzy, it is now a dexterity check to see if you can walk straight. That is a 13 plus 3. That is a 16 to walk straight. As you sort of stumble around, you hear people laughing, so you kind of like you play it up just a little bit of the how dizzy am I?
Gonna fall over.
And then a sleight of hand check to see exactly where you're gonna pin it before you stab it forwards. Sleight of hand check. You are not proficient in sleight of hand, so this is just going to be a straight dex check. 17. 17 plus 3 is 20. So as you walk forwards and you ready, you shove it forward. You're like, is this it? Is this it? And you hear Mosh going, yeah, that's it. Little to the left. No helping. Yeah, definitely helping. Yeah, a little to the left. Alright. And then you hear all the kids, and you pull your eyes up, and you see that Franklin is standing in front of you, and you've just right in his abs, right in his belly. You've just stuck it forwards, and he's got a big painted arrow on his abs, and he's got his hands on his hips, and he's like, "Really, Apis? I expected better of someone with an arrow than you. I expected better of someone as good with arrows as you are." Oh, sorry. Do you mind, Franklin? Could you come run over with me? And you sort of grab him by the hand and run over, and he laughs and runs over with you, and he goes, right, just stand there next to this deer for the rest of the day, please. And everybody's laughing, and so at least you did well at the archery, but unfortunately you did not do so well at the pin the tail on the donkey. So, what would Apis like to do for the rest of the day? It's now later into the evening. It's probably like 5 o'clock by the time you've spent some hours mucking around and doing stuff. Do you want to do the antler toss? You walk over to the ring toss. Ring toss, ring toss. All right, you ring toss, which is a dexterity check. So it's kind of like a ranged attack, but you're not proficient in the weapon that you're using. So it's a dexterity check without your proficiency added to it. So 16 plus 3, 19. So the first one, 19. Very well done. Oh, sorry, I've got to mark off your 5 copper as well for being involved in the game. So 19 is very good. And then the next one is a dirty 20. You're really good at these games, apparently. Making up for the falling off of the rope. And then the last one is hey, look at that again, 18. Dirty 20, 18, 38 onto there makes 57 over 3 rings. That's really good. That's the into the higher range of the Oh, 60 was the highest range that you could have gotten. So the 60 was the 10 back. This is 8 times your ante that you win back. So you put down 5 copper, you win back 4 silver. Seems like Apis is particularly good at dexterity-based things. It's almost like we took Dex +2 when we leveled up. So Apis takes that moment, talks to Trevor. Hey mate, you want to have a go with the antler toss? So all I have to do is just throw the rings and hit the antlers, right? Yeah mate, you just need to take 3 rings for 5 copper, and you get 3 shots. You can go for the easy ones. You can go for the easy ones that are nice and close. If you get all 3 of them on, you get your money back. If you get 2 of them on, you get a free turn. If you go to the next one over, you win twice your money back. But if you get all 3 of them onto the back ones, it's pretty hard. You might miss them. But if you get all 3 of them onto the back ones, you actually win 10 times your money back. You get 5 silver. 5 silver. And some of the crowd around. 5. You get 10 times. You go. But, you could try it 10 times, and you'd still come out on top. And you're like, right, yeah. Then here's your 5 copper, and let's give this a go. When you feel the weight of the ring, it's made of wood. It's pretty nicely made. You think John the carpenter must have done it. I'm like, right, here we go. Right. And you let it loose, and it wraps around one of the outcropping pieces of the antler. Excellent, mate. Here we go. See him again. And clack. Spin around right on top of the first one. Right you are! Here we go! We can do this! Here we go. Last one. You got the Apis? Thank you. And it looks like it misses. And then it goes over the one that you're aiming for and clacks against one of the other bits of the antler and bounces and then lands back on it. And yes, all 3! Yeah, you get back your money, whatever it was, 4 times the price. These games are very slightly geared towards winning, only if you're good at dexterity. You needed an average of 60 to get the full amount. This is one of the things to help get Shadridge fond of us generally. Yeah, it's a good day. People enjoying Apis's company and realising, holy shit, Apis is good at these sorts of things. The night is approaching now. People are going to start putting things away. You can see that John the carpenter is starting to put away his little square of dirt, the mud with the tracks in it. If you want to have a go at the guessing the tracks, that'll be your survival checks essentially. But other than that, I believe you've done everything else today. Is anyone talking about the Sasquatch? Oh yeah, people are milling about talking about the Sasquatch today. You can hear people on their way back towards town talking about the hedgehogs and the big scary skin thing that's in the thing. What is that, Mummy? I think it's a chimera, darling. Manticore, actually. Oh, Manticore, actually, apparently. And talking and stuff as you so yeah. Oh, what was that big bear thing that was it was a Bigfoot. Yeah, it was a Bigfoot. I'll tell you all about it when we get home. Guess the tracks. Alright, let's we go over to, as John's packing away, you're like, just if you wouldn't mind, and Clarissa says, we're packing up, and John says, oh, it's fine, we can put them out again for you. I imagine you're how was John? Was John a Yorkshireman? I think he was a Yorkshireman, gruff sort of Yorkshireman. Alright, darling, alright, how are you? Yeah, I think you were, because he was talking about his father and how his father had passed away. And you were right upset about it. Forest bonus. So he says, no, it's alright, love. Apis has been clearing up today. I'm interested to see how you do with tracks and that. So he goes, right, turn your back then, I'll put tracks out again. And he gets out a small bucket of water that's next to him and he sloshes it into the mud, and he grabs out his sticks that are all sort of caked in mud now, and he stamps them back and forth, and he goes, right, first one, Well, actually, first up, need your ante up, don't we? 5 copper, please. You know, right, you are. So you grab yourself your 5 copper out. And you step up to his his muddy area where you see some tracks. I'm gonna roll a survival check to see if you know what these tracks are. Huh, nat 20. Look at that. Nat 20. Wasted on the first one because the DC was only a 10. So with a survival check on that first one, nice and easy, you go. You say, do I have to know the exact species of rabbit? And he goes, of course you know it's a rabbit. Yeah, no, rabbit will suffice. You're like, all right. Rabbit, it's a rabbit. I think, incidentally though, I think it's a brown rabbit. Although you have used the hopping pattern of a white rabbit, so I'm not sure exactly. All right. All right. Gets out a long piece of wood and spreads it across the mud, resetting. All right, turn around. Gets out another one. Stamp. All right, slightly harder. Ooh, 5. 5 plus our survival of 4 is a 9. This time we go, right, this is difficult because normally you would use, it looks like normally I use more than just the footprints to decide what it is. It's like the area of the terrain in the forest that it would be in. It's definitely got hoof prints like a deer. It's like the hoofs of a deer, but it's not moving like a deer. It's not stepping in its own. It's not stepping in its own path. It's moving more like a. Robert just learnt the word for these different types of survival. I looked into it for last week's game, and then it just didn't go the way that I expected. So if I've kind of forgotten them all. There's different ways of animals moving. There's like ones that kind of jump forwards and their back feet land in their front feet, and there's other ones that move with their feet. Their back feet always go wider than their front. There's different types of tracks, and I looked into them briefly for this game, and I can't remember them. But Apis goes, I don't know. I'm going to say deer, and he goes, final answer. Say, I'm going to say deer. Say, right. Turn around. Third one. And he strikes it back. From his response, we realise, I don't think we got that right. And then he stamps. New tracks in the mud. And we get a 9. 9 plus 4 is a 13. And we go, right. That is a bear. And he goes, final answer. And you say, no. It was until you said that. It sounds like maybe not. Walkers, bounders, and lovers. Lovers sounds wrong, but walkers and bounders were definitely 2 of them. I added the last one. I was like, lovers doesn't sound right. Cheeky bastard. And Apis walks up and goes, all right, well, if it wasn't a bear, I guess. No, I'm doubting myself. It's a bear. And he goes, actually, it's an owlbear. And you go, oh, of course it is, because it's got the different. I was like, there was something wrong. It's got the different number of the. It's got the dewclaw that's not. You can't see that, and on the it would be normally dragging its feet. And he says, yeah, it's too late now. I'm afraid that's only 1 out of 3. And that is a fail. Sorry, Apis, you can't be good at everything, I guess. Right, I suppose not. Thanks for playing though, that was fun. And he goes, yeah, I did give you the harder ones, and he shows you the other ones that he had laid out, and he's got a couple of different ungulates and talons. They would have bear claws, but the claws are more like talons than claws. So he shows them off, and then he goes, all right. Thanks for playing though. And he starts to pack up, and Clarissa's already packed up all of her shit and left while you were playing. Is there a musical contest? We're good at pipes.
Are we?
No, there's no musical contest, but you can maybe engage people in delightful music while they go back to town and eat the pig on a spit that there is tonight. There's a feast to be happening tonight. Have another try at the pin in the tail thing, since we can try that multiple times. You could have tried that multiple times, Sparrow, but it's getting late now, because you could have tried one thing multiple times, or you can try some of everything, and you went for the trying some of everything route, so we don't have the time. By the time we get back to them, the Coltons, it's getting late. The sun is setting, and so the Coltons have set up have taken down the sign now. They've stopped getting people in. The kids are all going home to start going to bed and things, and the older folks are heading back towards town to start preparing for the feast, go wash up and things, and do any sort of jobs that they need to do before the feast. And so so are the stalls. The stalls are also being taken down now. So you help people out for a bit, taking down bunting and stuff on the way back, and then you make your own way back towards town, presumably. I assume you're going back for the feast as well? Or is Apis going to be like, that's enough people time for me? What do you guys think? Let's go lose a drinking contest. Eat the pig, get drunk, play the panpipes. Yeah, Apis probably hasn't had an alcoholic beverage in a while, have they? Does Apis like to drink? They are proficient with brewer's tools. I imagine they like to drink. Alright, most people saying let's go and get some food from the feast. Wash up to get rid of the nasty meat smell that we're emitting. Yeah. Like to talk to Kathleen about the wider world and her experiences of it. We can do that over dinner, I guess. Yeah. Alright, so sure. We will do so. We head back into Shadridge proper. And Quentin the butcher is helping Gretchen the innkeeper with setting up a spit on a roast outside of the Lucky Loot, and people are crowded round, and it's gotten dark, and people are laughing and joking and talking about the sasquatch, and Jackson the mayor comes over to you and says, Not the smartest idea, maybe, to go down into the pit with it, but you certainly gave us a show and brought out Altabris, bringing us such a wondrous creature. I'm sure it appeased Altabris. You certainly got the town talking. I think we're going to remember this Altabris festival for a great many years to come. And he sort of laughs and claps you on the shoulder and eat up, enjoy the food. It's always fun to have you around, Apis. And he walks off. So we grab ourselves once it's ready. We grab ourselves a nice bit of food, a nice plate of roast pork and some vegetables that have been supplied by the Coltons and stuff. There is a silver piece expectation from everybody just to participate, to kind of cover the costs. So we pay that happily and sit and eat with Kathleen. And we talk with her about her experiences outside of Fondurg and whether or not she wants us to go. And we'll pick up here with that conversation next week. As for now, we will leave it there, with Apis having a nice festival day of relaxation. And see you next time. Bye.